Hey guys, how y'all doing? So today we got the Motorola Moto G54 smartphone, which you can definitely call a budget smartphone, as this one only costs 200 euros over here in Germany. And I don't really think that you can get more for that price point. But before we head into the features and some of the specs, let's see what we get inside the box. So once we open up the box, the first thing that we see is the Moto G54 already wrapped up in a silicone case. This one is pretty thick and sturdy and good enough until we get another one. Right below we will get some of the paper stuff and the SIM card remover. There is a USB Type-C charging cable, and as for last, the 20 watts charging brick. Alright, now let's talk about the specs and the design. This phone has a pretty normal size with a 6.5-inch display and a weight of 192 grams. We got a glass front and a plastic frame and backside. The front looks pretty flat and we got sharp edges between the frame and the display. If we flip the phone around, we of course get the big Motorola logo in the middle and our dual camera setup in the top left corner. These sit on an extra element and I don't think that they stick out too much, you can barely see it. It's very minimal, which means the phone doesn't wiggle around if you lay it flat on its back. Even the buttons on the side sit pretty flush with the rest of the frame. So I have the matte midnight blue version of the Moto G54, but you can also grab this one in glacier blue or in mint green, which comes with the vegan leather back, similar to the Moto G54, which are also covered on this channel. Alright, so we got a 6.5-inch LCD display, which isn't a nice thing to hear, but therefore we get a 120Hz refresh rate. We can also trim that down to 60Hz to save some of the battery life, or leave it in auto mode, which automatically switches around 60 and 120 Hz. We got full HD plus resolution, so visuals are very crisp, the colors look decent, and we do get a okayish contrast. Since we have no OLED display, the blacks aren't as dark, and I don't get that nice contrast that we know from other smartphones with an OLED display. This phone lights up with 1000 nits, which is enough to counter some harsh lighting situations, and just the black bezels all around are a little bit disturbing. The sides are okay, but we get a fat lip on the bottom. Now as for the sound, we get ourselves a stereo speaker setup, so let's give this one a quick try. Have a stylish design and tracks all of your sports, but it also has a great battery life, and you can play games on it. Maybe not the loudest, but decent for the price point. And even at maximum volume, the sound is pretty clear. On the bottom we get a 3.5mm headphone jack, which we rarely see on the smartphones these days, but pretty often on Motorola smartphones. Like always, we have Dolby Atmos to tweak the sound settings a little bit. We have 4 presets, but we can also go ahead and click on custom and play around with the equalizers a bit. Now as usual with these budget-friendly Motorola phones, we get a large 5000 mAh battery that will last for quite a while. You can play a whole lot, watch streams and YouTube movies. Had the brightness on max and I was using the phone really a lot and it lasted a whole day. So if you're using that thing like a normal smartphone and don't test every single feature of it for hours, you can definitely get a full weekend out of battery life out of the sucker. As for the charging speed, you can't expect too much. You get a 15 watts turbo fast charger, and like this you will have to charge the Moto G54 the whole night to get back to full life. Next up, Android and the features. First up, you have to know that you get Android 13 on here, but only 1 year of OS updates. That means you will get Android 14 and that's it. And that will be released in a couple of weeks. At least Moto offers 3 years of security updates. Like usual for Moto smartphones, you get a whole lot of junk apps on here like Booking.com, Facebook and a few small games, but gladly you can get rid of them quite easy. This phone also comes with a fingerprint sensor on the side of the phone, which works good enough for me, and there is even a face unlock which works good as well. If we take a look into the storage settings, you see that on my 256GB version, about 10 gigs are already used up by the system, but the great part is that you can even expand the storage up to 1TB with an extra micro SD card. So as for the features, Moto slapped some of its own apps on here like the Moto app, with some pretty cool features. Like you can customize your whole display, you can go ahead and change the icon shape, set it into a dark or light mode, wallpapers, font styles, and a lot more. There are also all the standard gesture controls, like you can quickly launch apps by double tapping the back of the phone, you can quickly twist your wrist twice to open up the camera, the 3-finger screenshot, flip for D&D, and my favorite, the shake to turn on the torch. So you will also find Moto Secure, in which you can create secret folders no one should know of, pin pad scramble, which scrambles up the order of the numbers on the dial pad, and a few more practical features. I also want to mention the Family Space app. Like this, you can create a personal space for your different family members, like your kids. For example, you can only enable certain apps for a certain period of time that your kids can use, like only the games and the camera maybe. Now the Motorola Moto G54 is powered by MediaTek's Dimensity 7020, backed up with 8 gigs of RAM, which you will find in quite a few budget smartphones. So it's more than good enough for your everyday usage, and you can even play games on it, like Genshin Impact. It might not be the best gaming experience and you will get some lags here and there, but overall not even that bad on the lower quality settings. You can get a game booster, which means you can put your smartphone in a high performance mode or in a battery saving mode. There is a D&D mode, you can take screenshots and record your display. So overall not that shabby for a €200 smartphone. So as for the camera tech, you got a dual camera lens here, a 50 megapixel main camera with optical image stabilization, and a macro camera for some nice close-up shots. The front camera takes pictures with 16 megapixel and can record videos in 1080p with 30 frames per second. The back camera isn't much better, as this one also only shoots 1080p with 30 fps, so certainly not a great video camera. Now you do get a few different camera modes, such as a portrait mode. There's a pro mode in case you want to switch up the settings a little bit, night mode, dual capture, and the usual shenanigans. Now I wouldn't expect to get too much out of this camera. I mean, some close-up shots from my cats look decent with more detail than I thought I would get, but the portrait selfie shots didn't come out that great. It seems like I lost all of my color, and even the colors in the background don't look as poppy, and if I zoom in, it gets unclear pretty fast. The front camera also doesn't take much better selfies and portrait shots, but I would guess better than all of the other smartphones that you can get for under €200. The videos of the selfie camera are also not the best, but that's how they look like. Alright, so right now we are testing the selfie camera, and as I already told you, this one only records in 1080p with 30 frames per second, and you can see it's not the best, but it should get the job done. And guys, there we have it. That's the Moto G54. Now I also covered many other Motorola smartphones on this channel. Just click right here to get right to the video. And I guess with that one being said, I'll see you the next one. Peace.